Now we'll move on to our third speaker on the panel on crimes against humanity, AINA SHORMANBAYEVA from the International Legal Initiative. Over to you, AINA.
I'm a human rights defender, and we see these problems, this crisis in Xinjiang from the human rights perspective as our colleagues from Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International. And we are practitioners who are working directly with the victims, and we're also collecting testimonies. And ILI has, at the moment, 50 testimonies from mainly ethnic Kazakh victims in Kazakhstan, living in Kazakhstan. So, and according to their testimonies, the repressions against ethnic Kazakhs started in 2017. And this year, the ethnic Kazakh refugees from China concerned on their relatives in Xinjiang are reproduced in the camp or stripped from. What's the problem?
I think you're back.
Conducted two press conferences in Kazakhstan, and the whole people of Kazakhstan knew from these press conferences about the problems and about the repressions, mass repressions and mass violations of human rights in Xinjiang. From the testimonies of the victims, we know currently, and I can say that this information is the same that in the reports of Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International, because the policy of Chinese authorities towards the ethnic minorities is the same. The criminal, I think, criminal actions against representative of ethnic minorities are the same. So, and I can mention not only arbitrary detentions, but also, according to the testimonies, the facts of ethnic discrimination in employment, for example, in financial field, some of the victims claimed that ethnic Kazakhs cannot be appointed as senior accountants, for example, financial directors. Only they can only work as a cashier, for example. And a similar situation is with the teachers of former Kazakh schools. Their situation is harder because, according to the testimonies, about 1,900 Kazakh schools closed or transformed from Kazakh to Chinese schools, and I'm sorry. What's the problem? And the teachers of Kazakh schools, they lost their job as teachers, as specialists. And they became the watchmen, for example, cleaning lady. And some of them, despite their health conditions, forced the hard work. It's a serious violation. And according to the testimonials of one family member living in Kazakhstan, his wife Kazakh teacher, and they cannot unite for more than 3 years because authorities in Xinjiang prohibited her to move to Kazakhstan and unite with her family despite her hard health conditions. She's very ill and cannot work, nor as a teacher, nor as a cleaning lady. But she was forced to watch the streets. So how, as a guard, she's a woman, and she's working sometimes as a guard. It's strange to use teachers as a guard or watchman or cleaning lady. So a lot of claims were about forced collection of biological samples and health data. Some victims witnessed that in June 2016, the Xinjiang police ordered all residents applying for travel documents to provide DNA samples and other biological data. And some victims even witnessed about the virgin test of young girls in the schools. And this information is included in their records and used when they, for example, go further to universities or institutes. So for the higher education. One of the prisoner, former prisoner, claimed that he was the forcibly blood donor, and the authorities of the camp, they took too much, and now he's very ill. We provided him medical assistance, but he lost ability to work and suffering financially as a result. So there are a lot of testimonies about the restrictions of freedom of religion, and I joined the information from my colleagues, and can add that for ethnic Kazakhs, they claimed that inspectors, there are the special inspectors who check whether there are or not the religious staffs in the homes of ethnic Kazakhs, or staffs with Kazakh national ornament, for example. And this pyramids, other such bird, this stuff. Testimony of Gulizira Awilhan mentioned yesterday. In her case, she was forced to help to collect the mountain. She said it was the mountain of Qurans. Camp, and the guards buried these Qurans. So other claims related to the violations of cultural rights. One of the victims, she was translator, and she helped to transcript the books written by Kazakhstani authors from Kazakh Cyrillic to Kazakh Arabic. So, and she was arbitrarily detained for only for this, and all her library consisted of 1,000 books was confiscated by the police, the local police. And Kazakh families, according to the testimonies, are prohibited from decorating their houses with Kazakh national ornaments, and they cannot now to welcome each other. Assalam in Kazakh. Or just to give their children Arabic or Muslim names such as Muhammad. So, and centuries old localities and settlements their names changing in Chinese names. And it starts in 1970s. It's a very long policy to eliminate the traditional names of geographical localities and settlements from Uyghur into Chinese. For example, Shaoxing, now called Tachen, Yin, Urumqi, Usu, and so on. Tanshan, Bogda, Kazakh. So, and a lot of names of the settlements changed. Violations of freedom of movement was especially hard for ethnic Kazakhs because it led to the separation of the families. Local authorities confiscated the passports since 2017. And many Kazakhs they cannot visit without the permission of the authorities Kazakhstan because they need to take back their passport and get the visa in Kazakh embassy. So Kazakh, I need to know that Kazakhs, ethnic Kazakhs, their perception of the land in Xinjiang where regions where they are living mostly Altai, Tarbagatai and ILI, and Kazakhstan is the one homeland for them. Kazakhstan or Xinjiang is the homeland for ethnic Kazakhs. And families in many cases decided to move to Kazakhstan, not as a whole family, but a part of family. Some family members moved to Kazakhstan, benefited the state program of repatriation, got the citizenship of Kazakhstan, and they are now living in Kazakhstan as Kazakhstani citizens. But their relatives in Xinjiang, the family members, they remained in Xinjiang. They got the permanent residence permits from Kazakhstan for many reasons, for business, for example, and so on. And they visited Kazakhstan very often. And later, these visits were the main reason for their arbitrary detention to the camps. So, and violations of freedom of movement also are not only the confiscating the passports, but the freedom of movement restricted inside the Xinjiang. Every 100, 200 meters, there are the checkpoints and police checkpoints, and they cannot walking free on the streets because there are checks by police every this 100 or 200 meters. And even I'm sorry, ethnic Kazakhs are constantly monitored in public places, and even according to the testimonies at their homes, because there are the cameras inside their homes. They cannot even speak openly at the home, and they switch off such accessories or so. And according to the victims' witnesses, the freedom of speech and expression is totally violated in Xinjiang. For example, not only towards the ethnic Kazakhs or Uyghurs. For example, one of the victims witnessed that one Hui woman in the camp was arbitrarily detained for critics of local authorities for the corruption. So, and that's not the full information that I can express here, but we are continuing our work with the victims. We are providing them medical assistance, legal assistance, psychological assistance with the help of international organizations such Amnesty International, private companies such Butter, Sportswear, other embassies, other organizations, our colleagues in Kazakhstan. So it's a huge work and risky in many cases, but we're dedicated to this work to protect the dignity, because the main thing this is eliminating the dignity of Uyghurs, Kazakhs, Kyrgyz, Tatar, and other Turkic Muslim people of Xinjiang, which are especially Uyghurs and Kazakhs, are indigenous people.
Could you start to wind up now, please?
Thank you so much.
Oh, perfect. Thank you very much for keeping to time.